Hello, everyone. I am Brian Germain, and I run a interview show called Casual Chat. And this time, I wanted to do something a little different. I have my friend Dave Mathews here, who happens to be reaching out to the skydiving community to get voted in to represent us to USPA. So maybe, David, you can sort of introduce yourself just a little bit and talk sort of where you're coming from, because you've got one hell of a resume. I'd say you're overqualified for that.
Thanks so much, Brian, and thanks for having me. I really appreciate this. I am running for the vacancy that has been created on the board of directors. So this isn't the normal election, but this is a special election that'll happen this June. So many people have poured into my life over my lifetime. I just look at this as an opportunity to give back by really serving the skydiving community. We were talking before the show started. Again, you're one of those people, and I really appreciate that.
Well, there's a lot to do. I mean, we've created a wonderful thing. I mean, USPA has really become a very refined sort of basis for training and safety protocols, best practices, but it's not done being formed, is it?
That's right. I have, of course, my instructor certifications through the USPA. I'm an AFF instructor. This will be my, I guess, 6th year as an AFF instructor. I'm a tandem instructor, and I've just recently begun working on my examiner rating for AFF. So all of that is certainly in the context facilitated through the USPA, and that's really, really very valuable. But I'm not perfect. I guess if I ask Laura, you're not perfect, and there's no organization that's perfect. So yeah, we have work to do always.
Yep, absolutely. But I think that as somebody who's really active in skydiving and you have been for quite some time, and active in the student programs,
right?
At more than one drop zone, right?
Right. And I got to say, what I'm really excited about, this is the first year I am AFF program director at Skydive Tecumseh. So I've been teaching there for 5 years, but this year I've spent this winter working on the program, formalizing materials, creating an operations manual, creating some student retention tools, and I'm really excited about that. So, yeah.
That's great. I think it's vital that the folks that are at USPA are deeply immersed in the current culture of skydiving.
I was aside from skydiving, I was a college president for 18 years, and so I worked for an elected board for 18 years, and gives me a lot of insight into how to be effective in that environment. So.
Well, I was thinking the same thing, and I think you're really a perfect person for this role in a lot of different ways. Now, things that you see as sort of high priority agenda, where the things that you would sort of push forward for change and improvement. So, what comes to mind for that?
Yeah, so I'm not running on a platform of, hey, we need to change everything. Not at all. I mean, I really do believe that the USPA is a good organization, a strong organization, but there are some things that I think that need to be worked on. So for example, in the last general election, if I sort of tallied up my numbers right, we had, I think, a 6% voter turnout among the membership. So that is a problem, but I would argue that is a symptom of a different problem as well. And so why is it that only 6 out of 100 of the roughly 42,000 members were engaged enough, connected enough, cared enough, believed that it mattered enough to vote in the election? And so I'd really like to, I want to see that number increase again, not just to have a bigger voter turnout, but for people to really feel that the USPA is what it is. It's our organization.
Yep, absolutely. So how do you see that changing?
Well,
Aside from saying to the skydiving public, get out and vote, that's a start. But
yeah, it is. But as I've talked to people and I say, would you vote for me? The most common refrain is, I've never voted. And I start talking to them about why that's true. Mm-hmm. And I think that you get involved more when you go through instructional ratings, where you start to interact at a different level. Mm-hmm. But I think it's not about voting, but it's about engagement. And so there's a whole body of knowledge about engaging people. I just think we need to take a look at that and make it a priority. There are so many things that we have to do every day. There are so many things that we want to do. And as you know, it really boils down to making some priorities. But I would say in a membership organization, membership engagement should rightly be a fairly high priority, right?
So. I agree. I'm wondering if also maybe we can make it easier for voting in some way, and not just voting for an individual, but weighing in on specific issues. If USPA is us, and that's said a lot. I listened to the USPA president giving a talk about 6-7 months ago, and he kept saying that that USPA isn't me, it's us, and I believe that's true. But avenues, that's what I'm hoping that especially newly elected representatives can move into a space where it's easier for us to reach out and contact and push forward new ideas that can make improvements.
Right. In my own life and my own business, I founded Mathews Adventure Services. So do skydiving, but also ice climbing and rock climbing guiding. And so my lifestyle is to be accessible 24/7, 365, just so that with clients, right, with potential clients, I've already begun setting up ice climbs for 2024, right? And so I'm doing that. And so it's not just a campaign promise, but it's just who I am, that I make myself available. And I think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. To be responsive so that people feel like this isn't just something outside of their hands. So USPA is our little microcosm of government in general. And if we don't like the way that's going, we need to make changes in our little world where it'll move faster, in this smaller grouping of people that are clearly like-minded on the whole. If we can't get along, well, who else? How is it going to work on a grand scale?
Right. That's right. And we do have something really special in terms of a culture of people, right? I mean, you've experienced it, I've experienced it. You can go to a drop zone anywhere in the world and walk in, and these people are your family members. Yes. In your case, it's because you're famous, but even in my case, it's because I'm a jumper.
I think that's really what it comes down to. We accept each other.
Right. And that's so positive.
It's very, very, very.
I do have something else. I do have several other things.
What you got?
I shouldn't say this because it's going to age me and people are going to say I shouldn't vote for this old guy. But I made my first jump in 1980. And I did that as a member of the Michigan State University Sport Parachuting Club, right? And, we were jumping round canopies, military surplus gear. That was, incidentally, talk about perspective. That was when students were prohibited from jumping anything but a round canopy. Yeah. Flash forward to today, students are prohibited from jumping around canopy, right? But anyway, getting my start in college was just awesome. And I've just been working recently with student services, and faculty advisor, and we're reconstituting the Michigan State University Sport Parachuting Club. It's now called because it comes and goes as students come and go. It's now the Michigan State University Skydiving Club. But here's something that bothers me. Year after year after year, we seem to think that it's okay as an organization that we've got 75 to 85 competitors at collegiate nationals. My goodness, Rookie Fest at Skydive Chicago had about that many, and they were only drawing from 20 drop zones.
Right.
So again, this is not to point fingers. This is just to say how could the organization be better? And I feel if we had more collegiate jumpers, that the organization would be better in the long run.
Yep.
And so I'm working, what's the phrase? Think globally, act locally. I'm doing that here we are within days of actually reconstituting the club at Michigan State and welcoming them to our safety day coming up at Skydive Tecumseh. And I look forward to having students in sort of going out of my way a little bit as a skydiver to maybe go to campus, put on some presentations, the type of thing that hooked me when I was 18 years old.
Me too. I was the president of my skydiving club at the University of Vermont. Yeah. And I started it. It didn't exist.
Yeah.
And it's not that hard. For those of you that are hearing this conversation, and maybe you're a college student or you're an instructor in the area, reach out to these people.
Absolutely.
And find a way to make it reasonably affordable for a college student as well.
Yeah. I did not intend this to be a list of things that I wanted to do, but there are a few more that I want to do.
Yeah, go ahead, make a list. I mean, this is why I thought this would be really great, so that you can get these ideas out there, ideas that will make the sport better in your view. And let's get other people on board.
So that I'm an American Mountain Guide single pitch instructor. So when I first became certified as a rock climbing instructor, there was no written course materials. Clearly that was not optimal. But later on, one of the most famous rock climbing instructors ever, Bob Gaines, and another highly credentialed instructor who's also an author, Jason Martin, came together and they wrote the Single Pitch Instructor's Manual. And it is a tremendous resource for instructors in training and a resource for practicing instructors, right? For people who are in the field. So now let's think about what we have through the SIM and the IRM, right? The Skydiver Information Manual and the Instructor Resources Manual. They have not been, their format has not been optimized to be really good instructional training resources or resources for people in the field. There's the information is there, right? But I wrote textbooks. There's a lot of effort that goes into instructional design. And I think we need to look at these and say, what's our goal with the most important two publications? I would argue they are the most important two publications of the USPA. And let's work towards making those documents engaging, and then maybe people will engage with those documents more. And again, it's just in my mind taking something that's good and making it better and more useful.
Yeah, and more accessible. Hopefully, there we can utilize more modern technologies where there can be online training, sort of version of this stuff.
Right. And you look, there's already a step in that direction. The USPA is looking to redo the AFF category videos, but they said that even now the existing ones, which are great, which I use with my students all the time, are the most viewed resource that they have that's currently. And so people will gravitate and use those. I mean, I can't tell you how integral they are in my own training of students, because it's important that you see what something should look like. So you have this mental image, right? You do the same reason that you use video in your training for debriefs afterwards. We all do, because it's just so powerful. Didn't exist when I started skydiving, but let's use it now.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's find where the people are and work that. USPA could have TikTok videos. Let's get with the time. For real, where the people are. Let's show the movie in the movie theater, not in the alley where nobody is.
Right.
And so I think that as far as there's nothing wrong with having textbooks. I think it's important to have the basis of that. But I would love to see an expansion of the accessibility of the information. And I'm hoping that folks like you also create an avenue, a space online where instructors and coaches can share their knowledge, share their experiences, and help others to, oh yeah, I had a student like that too, and here's what I did.
I got to tell you a funny story from very recently. So after I was appointed as student program director at Skydive Tecumseh, and I started working on all these things, especially student retention in the skydiving programs, I posted on dropzone.com this question about student retention and programs. And within a few hours, who commented back with thoughtful responses other than Chuck Akers, right? And so this was my first interaction with the USPA president. It's because we're talking about something we both care about. I just really appreciated that. On the other hand, I didn't engage with many other people. So I think that we need to be able to, as you say, just facilitate it so that it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And just there could be a space within USPA based on a rating. You're allowed in. If you don't have a rating, then you don't get to be part of this conversation. That's fine. And make it not just overseen and orchestrated, but allow it to be an ebb and flow of information and opinions too. The opinions that you may or may not agree with, but still it's the communication, it's the connection.
Right.
I think that keeps us safe, that passing on of the information. Yeah. So I hope you do that.
I think I only have one more, and this is maybe more controversial, so maybe I shouldn't mention it.
No, we've got to get into the gritty stuff. That's important. Right.
So like I said, AFF is my passion. It really is. I didn't ever make a tandem jumping didn't exist when I started skydiving, right? It came along a year or two later, but I didn't make a tandem until I had well over 1,000 jumps. And the only reason I made a tandem was because, as you know, it's the first step in the tandem instructor rating course to ride as a tandem.
Front side, yep.
And so I've done tandems for a couple of years, and let me say, it's fun. In fact, it's a lot of fun.
Yep.
But as I sort of did some soul searching, I realized I like tandem jumping, but I love AFF, right? And
I agree. I've done both. And
and it doesn't, fortunately, I don't have to do either or, but where I'm going to put most of my time and energy from here on out is where I put the energy in the first 3 years as an AFF instructor, and that's in AFF, right? And so So having said that, though, I recognize that, our sport is possible because of tandem jumping, right? Our sport, how many turbine drop zones for fun jumpers do you think there would be if there was not tandem jumping, right?
Yeah.
And I have heard recently drop zone managers complaining about the shortage of tandem instructors and what's causing that. But I have an opinion on what's causing that because I've seen too many of my friends run afoul of the tandem medical process. I certainly, if you talk to people that I jump with, you will know that I am among the most careful of skydivers, the most safety conscious. I'm not saying that we throw a concern for the health of tandem instructors out the window. But I am saying that the FAA flight physical system was not built for tandem instructors. It was built for pilots. And it is a huge bureaucracy. It is an unforgiving bureaucracy. And two of my good friends who no longer can be tandem instructors, I think were wrongly assessed through the process because of that. And there is very little recourse when you start getting eaten up by that machine. And so I think we ought to really look at, there are an unacceptably high number of injuries there were last year with tandem jumping. But as I look at that, that was a behavior issue. That wasn't a medical condition issue.
I agree.
And you see, behavior issues are harder to address. And so we maybe look for the solution where it isn't. So I would like to see and again, I see that this will be controversial, and I don't want to be controversial. I want to solve a problem. And the two problems that I see is the nationwide availability of tandem instructors, but then what I consider injustice being done to individuals through the process that currently exists.
Okay. Yeah. So then we do need to have some manner of evaluating whether somebody is capable of doing the job, but some of the things that would preclude you from actually flying an airplane would not stop you.
Right. I mean,
safely.
There was a fairly comprehensive color vision screening as part of the physical, right? And one of my best friends in the sport was colorblind, right? And you know what? You can, an adult who is aware of that has, by the time they're of age, have figured out coping mechanisms. And I don't think that it just shows that the system, wasn't intended for tandem instructors.
Right. Unless they can't tell the difference between the red light and the green light.
But which one's on top, right?
There you go. Well, see, there you go. That's a coping mechanism.
Exactly.
It can be worked around, and there's no doubt that there's lots of people that are qualified to do tandems in terms of their abilities. But yeah, I think that's a great one.
Yeah.
And I also hope that we also examine why it is that we're not moving them from the tandem student category over to the AFF category swiftly after their jump. That's one of the things that I think could help to answer one of your earlier concerns. Is retention.
Yeah. What the USPA is doing now with this starter magazine, and I think I saw you have an article in there. I think that's a good step. And let me say, I will just be so humbled to be on the same board as, just look at the people who are currently serving, right? So it is not like I am unhappy. It's just that I think I can make a contribution. I'm at a point in my life where that makes sense for me to put that volunteer commitment in. And I hope that people more than 6% of the association will come out and vote.
Get
And
out and vote. You hear me? Get out there. This is your organization. You've got to take ownership. Yes, I agree.
yeah.
Get out there. And if it means, that people will change their attitudes towards the organization and take a more proactive role, well, that's even better.
Well, that is even better.
That's
Absolutely.
better than the vote. Yeah. Because
right.
you all have ideas.
Yeah.
Sitting around the campfire, what would be better than what we did? That conversation. Let's have more of those, and let's have them go somewhere instead of the anguish and self-induced helplessness of, oh, it's too big. Nobody's going to do anything. Nobody's going to change anything. Yes, they are. Because you got Dave Mathews and the others like him that have really good heads on their shoulders and experience in these processes. So I think you'll be great. I think you'll be one of a wonderful team.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's a long ways off. I've only done the first step, and that first step is to file my application to be on the ballot. So we'll see. Hopefully, the election will go well for me. But either way, I mean, this is my passion, and it's not like I don't have enough to do. Just putting all my efforts into Skydive Tecumseh, again, wonderful program, and with the new Michigan State Skydiving Club. But I really do think that my perspective, both over the years and at different places, I was a Halo team leader in 5th Group Special Forces, and the organizational end of things, both the military organization and then as a president. I was on a nonprofit board for 18 years. All of these things, I really just want to put them to work for the skydiving community.
Yeah. Well, we could use you.
Well, thank you.
And thanks for sitting down and having a chat about what's going on with you and where this is all headed. I'm excited for you, and I look forward to improvements in the areas that need improvements, and letting things alone that are going well.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, David. I think this is very exciting, and I look forward to the election to see what happens. And I hope that we get a lot more than 6%.
Me too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. Have a great day.